other contract which now amends certain items in that contract. And that is my effort. And one of the reasons I've taken that position is because of our push, which was there as a local community, because I come from that area. Because of our push for about 7 years, the government, that was the Kiraitu Murungi as the minister then, acceded to a request that we have what we call a liaison committee between the community, the government, and the investor. And I'm the head of that liaison committee. And that is the capacity in which I came in to be part of the negotiating team on the terms and conditions of that contract. One of the best things I've done in the negotiation, which was accepted in the current contract, is that as a condition precedent, as a condition before any mining can take place, we must have what we call resettlement and compensation committee, and resettlement and compensation work plan, which is supposed to come out. And if that is managed very well, all these issues about the community being displaced without compensation, the community being disadvantaged, will disappear.
All right, I mean, just as a matter of clarification, there are two questions related to what you've just talked about. We have Mwendwa from Kitui who's saying, what was your interest in Fenji Mining Company in the coal deal in Kitui County against the wish of the locals' interest? And then another one here, this is Joyce in Morindat, who is saying, please ask Mutua what his interest in the Muyu coal basin is.
I own, as a person, I own not less than 5,000 acres in the basin. It's a person, which I've purchased myself. I've constructed a house which is not less in terms of cost, less than about 10 million shillings as a person. And I have a very high stake in what happens. I'm one of the persons who is supposed to be relocated where I've constructed my house. So my interest, first and foremost, is that I need to get compensated extremely well. That is one. Secondly, I need to know where I'm going to be resettled. Thirdly, I'm a local leader. Because of my position, the community has confidence in me that I'm able to represent their interests. That is why I was elected the chairperson of the liaison committee. That is my interest. Over and above that, my interest is to see to it that indeed we have a contract, or we have an agreement which which is not biased against the government. We have an agreement where the investor himself is not going to take away all the benefits of that mining agreement. And I have this in mind because this contract itself has been scrutinized by experts. When it landed in my hands, it has been scrutinized by experts even in the US, who have given their input. In Tanzania, they have given their input. In Botswana, they have given their input, so that we can come with these 26 items. And why I'm so much keen about it is because this contract will set a precedent of some sort. Because Kenya, we are discovering mineral, oil and gas. And we want everybody to meet and say, we want the management of this extractive industry. We want the management of this oil and gas. We want the management of this mineral to be tailor-made to the way in which the coal mining was managed in Kitui. And that sets a precedent for Africa, not just for Kenya. Yes.
There's Isaac here who's a bit concerned, who's asking, to be honest with Mr. Mutua, he has been behaving as a code activist instead of being neutral in national issues. We need a fresh person.
Well, you see, that is again, you see, I say this country is really, it's unfortunate that it is divided, that the moment you criticize an issue, you are branded as a code person. Keter, Mheshimiwa Keter, who is in the Jubilee government, I mean, is part of the Jubilee because of URP. Currently, people say that he is a court sympathizer because you raise an issue. It means that what we are required to do is to keep quiet. And let me tell you, if, God forbid, if LSK elects a chair who is going to listen to that kind of criticism and keep quiet, so that he's not branded as a code activist, or who is sympathetic to the cause of the executive, then as a country, I think would be in a sad state. You don't require to listen to people who make those kind of allegations. And look at lawyers. I mean, you only need to do an opinion poll. Lawyers have told me over time that, contrary to some of the perceptions, I've been able to manage the law society in a very impartial manner. And I keep on reminding people what I said, and it was in the newspapers, both in the Nation and the Standard. When the ICC made a decision that both the president and the deputy president ought to be at the ICC at the same time, the first person to speak was myself and the Law Society of Kenya to say that is not good for the country. And we don't want a situation where both of them are out of the country at the same time. Nobody told me that I'm Jubilee when I said that. I mean, we look at what is good for this country, and we have always maintained that.
What about young lawyer? There was a big issue about young upcoming lawyers, desperate for privilege, desperate for jobs. These guys were championing that when they get there, they will take care of the youth, young lawyers, and mentor them, and then make the society a strong one. That you have ignored those people.
For they know, and you see, that is why I'm saying sometimes when you sit in my board, my council, and you make those allegations, what I do is just wonder. For the first time in the history of what we call the CLE, Continuous Legal Education, under my tenure, for the first time under my tenure, we recognize the fact that young lawyers do not have the financial capacity as the other old lawyers. And we staggered their fees, what they pay. What young lawyers pay as the charges for CLE is lower than what an ordinary lawyer, the old lawyers pay. And that is for the first time. It used to be uniform across the board. But when I came in as chair of the Law Society of Kenya, the first thing I said is, let's have a situation where young lawyers pay a lesser sum. That is recognizing the issues affecting young lawyers. For the first time in the history of the Law Society, young lawyers are engaged more in the affairs of the Law Society.
What about business? They were claiming that when it comes to files, business,
yes,
only 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 law firms control the business, the law business of representing parastatals, government, and the rest are scrounging.
You see,
and they were saying they can democratize that by having a law that changing the law, whatever. They'll do something about it. That you don't have that nomination by a few law firms controlling the government business.
They forgot that we have the Competition Authority. We have the Competition Act, where you cannot dictate markets. You cannot dictate markets. I mean, that is that is the reality. And if someone wants to say that he's coming in as a chairperson of the Law Society so that he can make sure that he comes up with a law which would ask, for instance, Kenya breweries, which would ask, for instance, Safaricom to distribute their work among their lawyers, is just dreaming. It's just being unrealistic. You cannot dictate you cannot dictate a relationship between a client and a lawyer. That is a private affair. You cannot dictate the markets. You cannot.
What about government jobs?
That is those are parastatals.
Those are private companies.
Yes.
What about, say, for instance, government state corporations?
What they don't understand, and I don't know whether it's failure to understand or just a question of trying to talk for the purpose of maybe thinking that you can convince lawyers. We have a procurement law. Even parastatals follow a procurement law. You must procure your services. You must first tender, then they pick the lowest person. So when you say that you're going to make sure that the work is distributed evenly, what about the procurement law? There's procurement law. You cannot do anything about it. And the parastatals are bound to follow the procurement law.
All right.
Yes.
More questions are coming in. I don't know why people are still focusing on this part of the debate. Reverend Samuel Kiondo from Kisii says, the chairman of LSK is a tribalist and very slippery because he was practical during Gladys Sholay Boss when there was cold blood between JSC and her conscience But Mutua stood at the fence to throw stones to Gladys.
First and foremost, that is a contradiction. You don't stand on the fence and at the same time throw stones. That is a contradiction. Unless he's trying to tell me that I threw stones, which I can probably mention, assuming that is what he wanted to say, not sitting on the fence. That issue, you did not expect me to come out and lead my council and lead my law society to defending the former chief registrar Gladys Sholay on issues which have not been investigated. I mean, we could not stop the Judicial Service Commission from investigating that issue. And all we said is that, look, we want quick resolution to this dispute. When we